shit. I'm good.
New roasters or wannabe roasters will ask questions to other roasters such as, where do you roast your coffee to? What degree? That question within itself doesn't make any sense, and I'm gonna explain to you why. You may think, okay, there's a thermometer. So what's the difference between a thermometer in my house that reads 75 degrees? If I were to ask you what temperature you like your home to be, you could tell me 75, 76, and that would make sense with my thermometer. But coffee roasting is not like that. The reason is that you have probes in here going into your drum. So the probe will read in an empty drum similar to another probe in a roaster that's empty. But when you're talking about roasting coffee, what happens is that you drop your green beans in and the roaster's trying to make sense of what temperature is in the drum. You got a hot drum and then you have all of these beans around the probe, and the probe is trying to make sense of what's happening, so it gives you a reading. But that reading, depending on the thickness of your probe placement will not equate to what the other roaster is reading. So a better question to ask is, how many degrees past first crack are you taking your coffee? All coffees crack.
Say crack again.
Crack.
And they'll crack at different temperatures depending on the roaster that you're using. But let's say a roaster is cracking their coffee at 380 degrees and they tell you, I take my coffee 20 degrees past crack. That would make sense. That's 400 for them. But on your roaster, your coffee may crack at 372. So you would say if you want a similar roast level, then you'd want to take it 20 degrees past that, which would be about 392. What happens is that now roasters are roasting with roasting software. Other roasters may ask to look at your roast curves because they want to try to emulate that curve. But again, it doesn't make any sense to try to emulate another roaster's curve for some of the reasons I just said before. It's the probe thickness placement and the way that the system itself reacts when roasting coffee that you cannot apply one curve to another roaster. Trust me, we've roasted now on 5 different roasters for extended periods of time, and none of the curves match up with the other ones. It's kind of like you got into dancing. So you watch professional dancers dancing salsa and you watch their steps and go, I'm gonna use those steps from those dancers. And you go home and you put on the tango and then you do the salsa steps to the tango. It doesn't make any sense. Let's say that you're a passionate barista that wants to dip their toe into the roasting waters. There's plenty of material out there that you can read, websites that you can go to. But even better, if you're working at a coffee shop that's buying from a roaster, ask to be able to visit their roastery. There you'll get a nice behind the scenes understanding of how things operate. I would look at their roast curves and cup the coffee. Start to understand coffees that you like, especially if it's the same coffee. I like this roast, I didn't like this roast. Can I see your curve? Because then you'll be able to see the difference within their system, why one curve is superior to another curve. And you'll start to get an idea of how curves maybe will be shaped and how curves get affected by different things during the roast that may be appealing or maybe unappealing. For any of our wholesale accounts who have baristas who would like to come and visit the roastery, we welcome you. Cup with us, watch us roast, watch the operation, really get a behind the scenes look at how things are. It's another reason why working with local roasters is way better than working with out-of-state or even worse, international roasters, because you get to start a relationship and build the relationship with the roaster that you're working with, and you can share that experience and understand why do they put these coffees together in this blend? What's the purpose of this espresso blend? Why did you pair these coffees versus pairing these other coffees? And you start to get a good idea of the thought process, the ideology of the roaster on blends and why certain coffees work well together and certain coffees don't.